And welcome to another episode of Funny Talk with Mangelli and Max. I'm Tom Mangelli. This is Doug Max. Say hi, Doug.
Hi, Doug. Hi, Tom. Hi, Joan.
And
Hi.
Joan Weisblatt is our extra special guest,
Oh,
comedian, friend, entertainer. What else are you? Ex-lawyer, right?
well, I'm still a lawyer, but I'm a retired lawyer.
Okay,
Ex-lawyer sounds like I was disbarred,
that's true. Yeah.
which maybe I should have been, but I wasn't.
I first met Joan. I thought of her as a stunt driver. It turns out that was just that was parallel parking.
Oh, that's so funny. I don't
And then
remember that you saw me parallel park. I'm sure it was interesting.
You know why I remembered that scene?
Why?
It was we had Doug Karpf on last episode. So I remembered McGlynn's. And I think the first time I met you, you had pulled a car and it went over the curb trying to park. And I know it was McGlynn's. I'm almost positive it was McGlynn's. And then there was and then Joan was, Joan really pulled at the heartstrings of every New Jersey comic that saw her that night at the fateful, historic Flemington courthouse.
Oh, one of my falling events.
Uh-huh.
We should
Yes,
we should talk about that later in the show
Sure.
rather than your tragedy. Unless you want to begin with tragedy, we can do that.
It's your show, whatever you please.
Well, Doug has coined his special brand of stand-up. It's a stand-up tragedy.
Oh, yes, I've seen it. I've experienced it.
My
I think I do
condolences.
remember your one night you're saying something okay, concentration camp humor. Yeah.
Before we do anything, Doug.
No, not after that, Tom. Put something in
Why?
between concentration camp and what you're about to do. Something
Well-
ducks, puppies.
I was concentrating. That's why I brought it up.
Shut up.
Adorable children.
Adorable children. You know, I used to like children, then I became a teacher.
I think adorable children is an oxymoron. I don't really care for children.
Yeah, well, it depends how you cook them.
Yeah.
What is
Oh.
that?
Who's that? Is that you?
No, that was one of my boys. My photograph, though. I'm very proud of that.
Oh,
Uh,
that's
And
sweet.
the other one.
So cute.
oh.
So don't say they're not adorable. When they're about 11 months old and sleeping, they're beautiful.
Oh,
They
they're
are.
adorable. Don't get me wrong.
That's what keeps you from eating them.
Get in my belly.
Just
So
keep-
anyway,
Oh my
anywho,
God. Yeah.
I want to
quickly.
mention that our sponsor, J. Irwin Productions, if you ever need to put together a comedy show for a private party, a fundraiser, a showcase at a restaurant, anything like that, corporate event, contact Jack at jirwinproductions.com. He's the guy to call. He knows all the comics out there, Northern New Jersey, New York, the whole area. And he's great to work with, and you'll be satisfied that you'll want to call him again right away for a new show. So, Doug, what do you have to add?
You know what I have to add.
I know what you have to add.
So during these COVID times where there are many, many wonderful, wonderful, gentle comic souls alone, desperate for comedy, hungry, cold, not able to pay utilities, Jack can hook you up with a comedian to like clean your bathroom, kitchen, vacuum. The going rate is somewhere between $5 and $10 for a 5 to 10 minute performance. They'll drive up to 2.5 hours to get to you, but you have to listen to them and laugh and wear a
No.
mask.
Actually, the rates have changed. It's between $5 and half a rotisserie chicken,
Jack is great.
He is.
isn't he?
Yeah, I've done shows for Jack, and he's a great producer, and the comedians that he hires are top notch.
Wait, you said you worked for him.
I did.
Hey,
That was a dig. I'm only
I'm
kidding.
used to him, Joan. He's like that all the time. So Joan is our second guest that happens to be happens to have matriculated from the same university as I did.
Who
Oh,
was
really?
your first guest?
Anita Wise.
Oh, sure. My walking partner before I got hurt.
I remembered noticing
Which
the two of
time?
you walking, and it made me think.
The most recent fall down the steps. That,
Oh, okay.
yeah, that was my most recent.
So I asked Anita
Yeah.
if she remembered some of the wonderful St. Louis places that I loved, like I think it was O'Connell's for great roast beef sandwiches
Oh
and
my
dark
God,
beer.
I loved O'Connell's.
Ted Drew's for the blizzards. You remember the frozen ice
that-
cream custard
No.
that started out there?
I remember them, and I didn't even go there.
Amaghetti's submarine sandwiches in
No,
the
that doesn't
Italian
sound
Quarter.
familiar. Telenia's for pizza.
Oh.
Telenia's for pizza? No?
I probably worked at a competitor called, was it Calico's? I think it
Did
was
we go
called
to the same
Calico's.
school?
St. Louis, yeah.
I didn't go to St. Louis University.
No, I went to
Washington
WashU. I went to
University.
WashU in St. Louis, yeah. I lived in
St.
Des
Louis,
Moines.
but in St. Louis, Missouri, because it sounds like we went to two different places.
Do you remember the Umrathskeller?
Yes, I remember. I
used to
worked
work
in the
there.
Umrathskeller. In fact, I was a hamburger flipper at the
Really?
Umrathskeller, and I had to wear one of those hairnets, and I looked like Ruth Buzzy from Laughton.
I was a bartender there. And
You're
I remember
kidding.
when they started with Saturday Night Live, all during the fake commercials, all the room would empty out and people would go up for beers. And I'd run up and then realize it's part of the show. It was like so unique.
Oh, that's so funny. We're, I think, a year apart, Doug. I think you were a year behind me in school.
70, when did I graduate? 78?
And I graduated in 77.
Yeah.
So it's possible that we worked at the Rathskeller at the same time and we didn't even know it.
Wow.
It could have been an item.
We could have been.
I could have been
What
a hamburger
dorms-
or cheese.
What dorm? You could have been my R. What did they call them? Not an RA. Yeah.
Yeah, an RA.
So what dorms were you in?
I was in Shepley.
Okay, the tall building, skyscraper.
My freshman dormitory was a low rise, and the name
Liggett, Koenig.
it wasn't Koenig. It was the one next to Koenig.
I was in Liggett, and that was near Koenig. I can't remember. Beaumont.
Beaumont. I was in Beaumont. That's
Wow.
right. Thank you. Man, you have a good memory for these things.
I lived in a room called the Igloo. Do you remember seeing somebody tape up on the wall of the outside glass outside the window?
No.
Big with masking tape, because my roommate was a Jew from Alabama who kept it like 50 degrees in the room. So he held me out the room and I put tape on the outside thing that said Igloo. And I
Wow.
went back to visit for like the 10-year reunion. There was still a shadow of that
Oh, that's
underneath. They
funny.
removed the tape. But yeah, that's all I was known for at WashU. That was it.
I moved off campus. I moved off campus during my third year officially, but unofficially during my second year because I had an older boyfriend who lived off campus.
I knew that.
But don't tell my parents because it could start a whole problem.
Let's.
My mother is still here.
We have their number. Make the call. If
Speaking
we
of
were audio,
parents-
we could do this.
Speaking of
pull this
parents,
off.
how's Mama Judy?
Mama Judy is doing okay.
Uh-huh.
She is now 92.
Wow.
Bless her.
She's as spunky as always, a little less physically able than she was when you last saw her. She walks with a walker.
Right.
But other than that, her sense of humor is completely intact.
Wow.
And she, in fact, yesterday I took her to the doctor and she was entertaining the doctor and the nurse. And I was a little concerned because she was coming to complain about pain and she started to wiggle her hips to show them how
Painful it
wonderful
is.
she was doing. And if you're looking for pain medication, that's not the right
So
tack.
you put on the jitterbug music and she kept on going. I have all those. I feel horrible about the humor I took from my dad because he passed away not long ago. But
Right.
I was writing, actually you were there for some of my dad's. I don't know if you saw them all, but there was one where he fell and he had a horrible scar that he didn't want to go to the hospital. So I was left bandaging it up myself
Oh
Because he
my
really,
goodness.
after a heart attack and whatever things he ran into, he didn't want to go back to the hospital. And he had gashed his head. And EMS came. He didn't want to go to the hospital. I had to put the bandage on the head myself. And as I'm doing it, I realized when the scar forms, it's going to look like a swastika.
Oh, gee.
And he speaks as part of the Holocaust education in New Jersey. They're
Yes.
not going to let him speak. It would
I
kill him.
remember you're talking about this now.
Anyway.
That's really,
I don't know what's with that. When I was taking care of my dad before he passed, because taking care of him afterward would have been a waste of time.
Let me get that for you, Dad.
if
So
he
anyway,
answers, there's a problem.
The day before I was supposed to start a new job, because I moved
Careful,
down there.
it's hot. You're using your dad as a trivet. Never mind.
That's what we used to call him, trivet. No, but the day before I was supposed to start a new job, he decides to fall in the bathroom with the door shut against the closed door, and he broke his hip.
Oh my God.
He didn't want to go to the hospital. The EMTs came. They had to climb through a window to get him out, and they asked him, "Do you want to go to the hospital?" And he said no. And they were about to leave. I'm like, "Wait a minute, you're not going anywhere."
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're not, Tom. That's exactly the scenario I had with my dad one time.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I had to push the door. Thank God I could do it. But everybody talks about how wonderful and gentle and sweet my father is. And I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, do they know who this person is? Close the door in the house. It's too
Well,
cold. It's
I have to say
85 degrees.
My mother is as sweet as she seems. She's so much nicer than I am. She's not in the slightest bit moody. She's always in a good mood. And I think part of the reason that she was entertaining at the doctor's office yesterday is because she's still living in her house by herself. And although I see her frequently, I think she's probably has a little bit of cabin fever. So she had a chance to go out yesterday.
That is, yeah.
Yeah. So I think she was elated.
So you have to be careful that I think my father used to get pains because he liked the attention he got at doctors because he could tell them his slave labor story from World War II.
Yes.
So all I can
Well,
say is before you deal with the making the reservations, and if you drive her and take her, I know what, how complicated all that can get. Just
Yes.
make sure you have in your trunk of your car, all the creams and ointments and pills. And I've got leftovers, by the way.
Yeah. You know what? My mother takes fewer pills than I do. So
wow.
she carries me around. So I really can't.
I've got leftovers. You want to get rid of extra water? We can do that for the next 90 days. No problem. Tom?
My water is fine. Thank you.
Tom, what about you? We could Tom, let's do it. And we'll open up, we'll bottle water. We'll call it Tom water.
Hey, if I take enough diuretics, I'll be like the Niagara Falls.
Tom, are you still at your same job that you were last time I saw you at the
Yes.
self-storage?
Yep, the self-storage facility. Yep,
Mhm.
yep.
Good.
We
Yeah.
didn't talk about your shirt, Tom. What does it say?
My shirt says, "Leftovers are for quitters."
What does that mean?
That means that
Tom's going to eat everything around him. He has
Yeah,
determination, focus, drive, a
I was
mouth.
I was 35 before I learned about Reynolds wrap. I never had a leftover in my life.
Now I get it.
Yeah.
Now I get it. When I married my husband, he said to me that he didn't eat leftovers. He didn't, if he had told me that before we got married, the engagement would have been off, but he didn't tell me until afterward, but I've trained him well. So he does eat leftovers now. Otherwise I would have to do more cooking than I'm already doing. So
Does he participate in the cooking?
he used to, not as much now. I have more time on my hands. When I was practicing law, we took turns cooking or we ordered in, at which I'm very adept. But I would say I do almost all of the cooking now. Occasionally he'll cook.
So you know how to get out of it?
Are you going to tell me?
Yeah. You want to know?
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you a little story like Mr. Wonderful. So I learned about this trick in my marriage that ended, thankfully. She had on her list green beans, right? So I went to the supermarket, got everything on the list, came home, had the green beans. She throws them down on the counter and says, "What are these?" I said, "You said you wanted green beans." She said, "Not a package of green beans." I said, "What do you want me to do? Pick them out individually? You are never going shopping again." So I never went shopping again. Laundry was really easy too. I did it naturally. Separate whites and colors. I put everything together and warm. You are never doing laundry again. Anyway, Joan, the secret,
Yes.
if you ever want to break, start like messing up dinner. It doesn't have to be your half. You can overdo his steak. So he'll look at you one night and he'll go, what's with the salmon? Oh, honey, I thought I'd add cinnamon and coriander to it to
Yikes.
something. Actually, that would probably be okay on salmon, wouldn't it?
It might
Cinnamon,
not be bad.
cinnamon and coriander.
If I said to Joel that I don't want to cook anymore, he would say fine, and we would order in every night. So to keep us from,
Yeah.
getting out of hand, I do a lot of the cooking.
Anyway,
Now,
love
I used
cooking.
to love to cook, especially when I still lived at my parents' house, because my mom was like a superb cook. I learned from the best. But I live alone now, and cooking for one sucks. Which is a good thing that I'm eating for two. But
You were, not now.
not now. Yeah, I'm trying.
So what is your diet like now, Tom?
Well, no croutons whatsoever.
Well, that's a deal breaker.
It's the crouton diet. No, I've eliminated, pretty much eliminated flour, sugar, artificial sweeteners, carbonated drinks.
Artificial sweeteners are bad?
Oh yeah.
Why are they bad?
Supposedly, they make it harder for someone who uses it to lose weight. Oddly enough, it's good from a diabetic standpoint in that you're not ingesting the sugar, but to try to lose weight when you're taking them, especially long term, which I had been.
What is it, teasing your taste buds and making you want sweet and more? Or
I don't know. I'm learning about insulin resistance, which I'm sure I have succumbed to, because in the past, no matter what I've tried, I just couldn't. I would lose like 30 pounds and then gain it all back and then some. So I was a yo-yo dieter. I was down to 4 yo-yos a day.
okay, I was going to ask you, when is this going to get funny again?
Yeah, and
we're doing this is a comedy show, Tom.
Is that
Because
my fault?
No,
Are
it's
you going
always-
to
it's
regret
always
that
my
you asked
fault.
me to be on the show?
I
but the
always
good
bring
thing
the
about
real-
yo-yos is you can eat and floss at the same time. Anyway, wow.
I have to ask you, speaking of yo-yos, do you remember Duncan Yo-Yos?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Do you remember Duncan Yo-Yos? A yo-yo made by Duncan.
Duncan, yeah.
If you say so.
It was big in the 70s. They had competitions.
I mean, I remember. Oh, not the Dunkin' Donut yo-yo. Yeah,
No,
I remember
Dunkin' Yo-Yo.
Brand of yo-yo.
Yeah, I used to yo-yo.
They had a butterfly on them, the original ones, and then they came out with a
That
whole
was
bunch
the
of.
butterfly yo-yo was separate for throwing up and catching in the air. Too.
Were you able to do those tricks?
I could do some. I could do
I
like
did
cat's
some.
cradle. Yeah, I could get it to walk. I could walk the dog.
Walk the dog.
Yep.
Walking the dog was hard for me. I did cat's cradle. I spent an awful lot of time with that yo-yo.
Yeah.
That was my companion.
Wait, you're talking about Joel now?
So do
No,
you
that's
remember,
what I do now. This is my present yo-yo in the other room.
We were such contemporaries. You must remember click-clacks.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Oh sure.
And then they outlawed them in school because kids were getting killed by them.
Well, they used to shatter.
But then they
that I don't
discovered,
remember.
so those were dangerous, but like, 100 bullet magazine for a semi-automatic weapon, that's fine.
You remember footsie?
What?
Footsie. It was a plastic ring with a string or a plastic rope, and then a bell at the end. And you put it over one foot, and you had to swing it around and then jump over it every time it came around.
Oh, that was beyond. That was stupid by the time I had grown up, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
But
that's right, because we're a little bit older than Tom, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Now you remember the hula hoop.
Hula hoop, of course.
Right. Well, I call it a belt. I can't get it to do anything.
It's an infinity belt.
So you know something? I've got to tell you the story that brings together a belt and infinity.
Let's hear it.
So did you ever see the movie The Man Who Knew Infinity?
I didn't.
It was
No.
a very, very poor Indian kid who taught himself advanced math, ended up, showing off being incredibly brilliant. His favorite mathematical problem, he said, take a belt and put it around the equator of the earth, as tight as it possibly can be, right?
Okay.
And then add 3 feet in length to that belt going around the entire earth. How much off the earth does it lift?
3 feet?
No, you add 3 feet to the diameter, to the circumference.
So
3 feet, I'm sorry, to the circumference of the belt. So
yeah, I got that, but I'm trying to figure out the
no, 3 feet is you add 3 feet in length. So
and
you
so
add like one notch.
Yeah.
One notch on the belt, 3 feet long, going around the earth.
Yes.
How high off does it lift?
Do you know the answer to this, Tom?
All I know is I'm thinking back to geometry, and when I get to pi,
okay,
I get distracted.
Yeah. Anyway, so the answer, I really don't know the
going
answer.
off on a tangent.
I really don't know the answer, but it's something like 2 inches. And I remember when I thought of, adding a little difference in the circumference going 5,000, what is the circumference of the earth? 24,000 miles. So you add 3 feet to that.
Like
I'm thinking you would
25,000 miles around.
Yeah.
I only remember from the song.
And you add 3 feet to that, you think you're not going to get any distance off the earth at all. But in fact, it lifts off like 2 inches. Were
you a science major?
I was.
No, a nerd.
I was, but then I dropped out of physics my senior year, took humanities, decided I wanted to be a rabbi. I went to WashU planning on being a rabbi.
Wow.
Yeah, I gave that up.
I dated a guy who was going to be a rabbi at WashU.
Wait a minute. Did you never?
Were you the one? I have a feeling there's more to this.
Doug, you wore a veil and a kippah that covered your face.
Did you change your name? I think you changed your name.
Shmuel. I used to go by Shmuel Moskowitz. I wanted,
yes.
I actually went to Brandeis to look at it. I didn't get in, but I thought this place is too Jewish. I ought to get out. And I went to WashU sight unseen. Little did I know that every Jew from like wherever, Alabama Jews, there were Canadian Jews going to WashU. Did you know that, Tom?
What?
It was
Canada
like WashU was like half Jewish, wasn't it?
This is the reason why. WashU was considered just a step below the Ivies. So all the Jewish kids that didn't get into the Ivies went to WashU if they just missed the Ivies.
Why should I work so hard? Can't I just get into a good school and cruise from there?
Now, the fact is that WashU has risen so much in the ranks.
I know. It's because they raise a lot of money.
I don't know. I mean, I could probably still get in there, but Doug, I'm not so sure.
No. Hey, I was a PhD student. I completed my PhD coursework at
and then what happened?
Missouri.
Woke up.
Blah, 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 blah. And then I became a comedian.
Good choice.
Blah blahs. There's a lot of blah blahs in there.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Well, listen, there's a lot of life between now and back then,
I suppose so.
Doug actually got into an Ivy League. Unfortunately, it was poison ivy. He had to start from scratch.
Oh, God.
I was a camp counselor in a Jewish camp. and another troop was making a secret fort in the woods. So we decided we would, and we went into the woods to clear out an area to make a little troop. These poor kids were like 13, 7 to 8-year-old kids, something like that. It was poison ivy. I lost half the troop the next day.
Oh.
They ended up loving me though anyway.
I never went to camp, which is very unusual for a Jewish person.
Really?
But I went to day camp, but I never went to sleepaway camp.
Okay. I wanted to open a camp for attention deficit children, people who couldn't concentrate. But there was something there in the name, it didn't work out.
I've got to tell you the story because a woman I dated who's I don't know exactly, but maybe it was some other woman who was a survivor. They were at some event. It must have been a survivor meeting years later. No, it wasn't. It was not. So there are two survivors talking, and the daughter is there with one of the women, and somebody asked the daughter, where do the two of them know one another from? And she says, from camp.
Oh,
Oh no.
Horrible.
Oh my God.
I didn't know the show was going to be such a downer. If I only knew.
We're lifting up from, we began with dead people.
I would have brought a box of tissues if I knew this was what it was going to be like.
Have you met Doug?
We started with Mama Judy.
I'm getting depressed.
And her infirmance and her sense of humor. And yeah.
Yeah, we ended up at concentration.
Now, speaking of depressed.
That was probably you. Was it me?
Me? I asked how Mama Judy was.
Never mind.
Now, speaking of depression, do you suffer from depression like I do?
Not like you do.
No?
No, Joan hops on a pillow, on a mattress. She's going up in the air.
I still have flashbacks of the playground where my end of the seesaw was always on the ground.
Oh my God. Did they ever try to stack up against you? Like, did you have a record? You against
I got up to 7 other kids on the other side. It was still up in the air.
At what age, Tom, could you have possibly been that big in grade school?
In 3rd grade, I weighed 100 pounds.
Wow, that's a lot.
Other kids were like 40, 35, 40.
But you were very tall also for your age, weren't you?
Not that tall. I'd have to be 8 feet tall.
Tom, I'm trying to make this more palatable for you.
Don't say palatable. It makes me think of food.
Acceptable.
Yeah.
Better.
So Joan, I wanted to talk to you. I know you may or may not know this, but I've been reading this great book every night before I go to bed. The Meso book, edition 3.
No.
The Meso book. You don't know what I'm talking about?
No. Is that about mesothelioma? Because I know about that.
Yeah, no, they do the commercials and they're always say, call and get the Meso book.
Oh.
So I don't have mesothelioma, but I called and I got the book. It's terrific. I wanted to think.
If you had mesothelioma, this show would not go on for too much longer.
Yeah, that's true. But Doug does as best as he can.
I was on the other side, by the way. We burned the books. We didn't use them.
Yeah.
I was a defense attorney. I never read the Meso book. Who puts out the Meso book? Is that Weitz and Luxembourg?
Whoever does the mesothelioma,
it's Weitz and Luxembourg.
Whoever they're obviously doing.
They were my adversaries.
If you've worked anywhere, any place, they have asbestos. Call us and we'll sue. Yeah.
It's not good stuff. It's not good for breathing.
No, and what's scary is it takes 30 years to have any kind of symptoms.
Yeah, it could take 30 years. It could take less, but yes. And then if you get mesothelioma, you don't, generally live more than a year and a half. So
right.
Nice.
Yeah.
So let me tell a happy dog story. So I'm on this date with this woman and I'm petting her dog. All of a sudden, never mind. That's not a good story. I thought puppies would be good.
Have you guys been doing some stand-up?
Tom has done some.
I've done
I
a
did.
few.
I was at Scotty's one night. I was at
Right.
Scotty's, and then I've done a couple Zoom shows. This I consider comedy, but I'll reconsider.
I just got 3 bookings today, actually.
Did you
I
really?
just, yeah, I
Not to
decided this
brag.
enough is enough. I made some phone calls, bing, bang, boom. So I'm going to get out there again and get my feet wet. And
Have you been selling your body to get gigs, Tom? Bing, bang, boom.
hey, if I sold my body, I'd do it by the pound.
Do you guys miss the stage?
Oh, absolutely. I do. Oh my God. Oofa. I need to get out there.
I miss laughter. One of the nice things about recording a show in advance and being delusional and thinking you're funny, I feel like people are laughing, even though it's only the 3 of us. I feel like there's a force out there that soon will be laughing. So
I think you're mentally ill.
I know he is.
Oh, okay.
I am too.
it helps. Listen, believe me, it helps with the it doesn't help as much with the girlfriend. I still have to work on
Speaking of girlfriends,
navigating my sense of humor.
this Sunday is Valentine's Day, Doug.
Oh, I know. I have a piece of paper on the kitchen table that says Valentine's Day.
Doug,
And
I didn't want to ask about your personal life, so I didn't want to ask.
I
But
know Stephanie and we're still
you're
together.
still going strong.
Yeah, I'm getting.
She hasn't found out about you yet. The blah blah
well,
blah.
One of the
She knows
secrets.
blah blah blah.
One of the secrets, the biggest secret, is I'm getting better at learning how to apologize. So one thing, when you guys, if you're listening, women evidently hear things. Sometimes they hear you can hear things that guys haven't even said. It's remarkable here.
Not to generalize.
Not to generalize, but I know it's true.
Sure.
So if you say, I'm sorry, and the next word is you, already you've effed up the apology. I'm sorry your feelings are hurt.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's not good.
I'm sorry you think
but
that.
I'm always waiting for the but.
Yeah, it's the same. It's a nuance. So you have to say, I'm sorry I did that. It will never happen again.
Right. You have to take ownership of what you did.
And promise corrective action. In some cases, you have to be specific about the details.
So Doug, stop saying, you know what your problem is, to start it off.
Doug, why are you so offensive that you need to apologize as much as you do?
Because I write comedy in the course of life where I think you're supposed to be writing it. But if I don't
get that. That's a non sequitur.
But if I write it, she's sensitive. And if
she's
I write
sensitive about the things that you write.
Well, here, I don't know if you remember. I've used this opening for a long time, or somewhere early on in the opening, that one of the things I learned early on in comedy is that honest comedy is good comedy. And then I go on to say I had to go through a procedure so I could have sex again.
Yes.
So I set people up.
Yes.
So my lovely and wonderful girlfriend,
beautiful too,
and beautiful, will often remind me that I opened my act saying honest comedy is good comedy. So whenever I make any kind of joke in the course of whatever we're doing, if we're cooking dinner and I make a joke, she thinks it comes from a place of honesty and not just my sick mind. And I'm working on comedy. And so she takes it personally. So I have to work on my segue better, because I'll just,
Either that or you need a different audience.
Or a different girlfriend.
Or a different
That I don't want. And honestly, Joan, you're absolutely right. I can, listen, and I've had people tell me, find someone that, thinks everything you say is funny. And I would not get any better. And I think I'm very lucky in someone that repeatedly tells me I'm not funny, on top of Tom. So I figure it's support, it's motivation, it's encouragement. And, I learned the hard way. I remember really an old open mic at McGlynn's where I did a joke that I thought was really funny. And I remember looking at the audience of a lot of women looking at me like, this is not funny at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the joke too. I'm not going to remember, but I remembered that was funny to me. It would be funny to guys who are drunk, but you know, it, I won't talk about it. Anyway.
I met Stephanie at the very, very, very beginning of your relationship at the New York Comedy Club when we were in a competition there.
Comics watching comics?
I guess that was Comics Watching Comics.
Oh my
You
God.
won that, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
But that's not why I brought it up. But now that you mention it, yeah, I did.
And I was the one that
But I met
much
Stephanie.
often.
You had just met her and you
Yeah.
invited her to come as an audience member because you probably needed to bring somebody.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I was the guy on that Comics Watching Comics. When the preview came out, there was somebody that said 2 weeks, that guy won't last 2 weeks in comedy or something like that. And I'm like, oh my God.
Well, I had a weird experience with it too, because
that was me though. I found out later that guy was talking about me.
Oh, yeah. That's very sad.
No, but the other two liked me, and one said I should be on late night. So it
balanced itself out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you won the season.
But yes, but when they show the video of my segment of Comics Watching Comics, they stop it after my first or second joke that they're reviewing. And one of the guys said, oh, is some old lady, trying to be funny.
Oh, wow.
And yeah. And then I continued and he changed his mind, which was nice.
That was nice.
But,
well, I've talked to a few comics that were the comics who were watching, and they said they did not like it. First of all, it was like an all-day thing. And can you imagine? It was
an all-day thing. How many comics did?
But for them doing the watching part. They weren't necessarily there for the original. These are the judges who had to go to the apartment and watch 5 hours and try to be funny. And depending on where you got on, they were exhausted and they had to watch the whole thing and clip things together. And so they did not like the process.
I
did it. I thought, what an idiot. I thought that after, and then I thought for months until it came out, I thought, oh my God, I would not want to be the comic that somebody said he's going to last 2 weeks. And then I found out it was me. Because my opening was, I've been happily married for 2 weeks. Unfortunately, those 2 weeks were within a 20-year marriage. So.
Yes.
Yeah, I stopped doing that. But, okay. Okay, so we only have like 25 minutes to kill, guys. We're doing okay.
Now, Joan, besides that, as a distinction in your comedy career, you also have the distinction of being the klutziest comic.
I don't know. I don't know why I fall. There have been other instances where I fell too. I did a comedy show at Andy Glazer's synagogue. You know Andy Glazer?
Yeah.
Yeah. And as I was walking out onto the stage, there were wires on the floor from, the amplifiers. And I tripped as I was going out onto the stage and I fell forward before I even had a chance to get a word out of my mouth. And I got up and I turned to the audience and I said, I planned that just because I needed to say something. But I guess I can't explain it. I can't explain it.
Well,
And
Doug,
saw you
should I tell her my story?
Go on, Tom.
I was going onto a stage. I left my cane behind because I figured it was just like a 4 or 5 inch, step up. Well, I end up falling, getting onto the stage. Boom, like earthquake, Richter scale. And I'm struggling to right myself and turn myself to face the audience. And right away I said, you think stand up is easy?
Yep.
Yeah.
You remind me of our friend Dennis Ross. And I was emceeing a show down in Ocean City, Maryland with another sociopath comic. And Dennis asked me to help him get up. Dennis is a sizable comic, or was a sizable comic. He passed away, I guess, last year.
A few years ago, yeah.
Over 4 years, I think.
Yeah, maybe 4 years.
So he would, I would pull him up to help balance him. And I'm thinking, you know, how is this going to work if he starts going back? And then I thought, I'm going to land on him and bounce off. I'll be fine. But when he was done with his act, he'd get down from the stool, lean down on the edge of the stage, which was about 3 feet. It would take him about 10 minutes, it seemed, to get from the stool to the edge, and he'd like roll off the edge of the stage. Meanwhile, he's done with the mic. The show is over. I've come up as the MC to close out the show, and he's slowly getting off the stage. So I had to do this a number of nights. So I would do things like, you know, like, hey, I give him 8.5 for that dismount. Another one, it was a beach town. So does anybody have one of those inflatable rafts we can use like on the airplanes? I don't know how I did it. That was funny, but
I had a situation where I eventually bought a step stool that I carried with me because I never knew how high the stage was going to be.
I did the same thing.
And what precipitated it was that I had a show with Tim Grill, and he was on stage and I was getting onto the stage, and it was high. And Tim Grill, as you probably know, has spina bifida, and he is quite uneven and walks with a cane. And I wanted him to help me onto the stage. And I didn't, but I almost pulled both of us down.
Jeez.
So that's when I got my steps.
That sounds like Crossroads had what seemed like a very inappropriately high stage for the size of the room. Was it Garwood? Do you remember?
Yeah, but Crossroads had a staircase.
It did have stairs, yeah.
It did have stairs.
Joan, I don't know.
It's high, but it had stairs.
Joan, I don't know if you remember Stangle Stage in Flemington.
Sure, I did Stangle Stage.
Well, in the beginning, they had no stairs to get up to the stage. They had like folding chairs and cinder blocks. You had to balance yourself like the Karate Kid.
Oh my God.
And watching me trying to get on and off that stage, the committee actually decided to build stairs for the Stangle Stage, and they've called the stairs the Tom Mangelli Stairs.
I was just going to ask you if they named the stairs after you.
Yes.
Sure enough.
They had Native American Indian steel workers come in and assemble the thing, welding it and riveting it. It took 3 weeks.
I'll know I've made it in comedy if the next time they build an escalator.
The Tom Mangelli escalator.
Why don't we just get a trampoline? Remember?
Oh, that's an idea.
You ever do the show with the guy, Mickey Loesch, who did
Mickey
a goofy
Loesch,
show?
yeah.
He had a little trampoline on stage and a rubber chicken.
Uh-huh.
It was
one
of the early
what
open
did he do
mics.
with the trampoline and the rubber chicken?
It was there if anyone wanted to use it.
Other people made use of it.
Did he jump on the trampoline on stage?
I don't
No,
think
but there
so,
was
dude.
one comic. Do you remember that woman, the
I
female
remember
comic?
that woman, Tom.
I don't remember her name. Do you?
I know her name.
Well, we shouldn't
I'm not
say it.
going to use her name.
But she would jump up and down like a crazy person and do her act.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It had its ups and downs.
You know, oh, Tom.
And then I fell off the trampoline.
Yeah.
I really want a shtick, you know? You're the fourth biggest thing in comedy. I'm like nothing. Joan, do you have a shtick? Do you like?
Do I have a shtick?
Yeah.
In my,
you remember the bagel guy, the guy that got in a fight in a bagel store? He started getting booked in every comedy club in New York. All he had to do was you remember that?
The one who started a fight in the bagel store?
Yeah.
Yeah, the short guy.
Yeah. I do remember that.
Anyway,
sure.
and then there's the fat, was it the fat Jew or the angry Jew? I can't.
Yeah, no, I don't know. it's sort of hard to start a fuss when you're in quarantine. It's
I know, but I want to come out as I've been thinking of the unfunny Jew comedian.
Doug,
Has
I
that
thought
been
you came
taken?
out already.
Not as- no, but in lights, Tom, like proudly,
Ah,
accepted proudly.
uh-huh.
sure. Why not?
Joan, you complain a lot in your comedy. You got problems with a lot of people in your life, don't you?
Are you talking to me?
I'm talking to you, me.
No, I don't
I like your comedy a lot. We share a lot of similar humor. We find humor in very similar things.
Yeah, that's funny. I don't think of myself as complaining a lot, but maybe my audience thinks I do. So that's why I'm sitting here on your
Maybe
show.
I shouldn't put it as complaining, but you certainly come across as tough. I'll put it that
I
way.
come across as tough?
Like nobody better mess with you. I think so.
That is so funny.
I think so.
Wait, Doug said something funny?
Yeah. Wait.
No,
we
and
write
not
that down?
comical.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't mean it that way. No, it wasn't. No.
So what do you think? Who is your character then?
I'm trying to remember. Oh, Rob Epple said to me that he was so intimidated by me when he first saw me do comedy that he really shied from me because he thought that I was going to be tough. And I'm not. I'm a mush. I'm easy. I'm not a bad person.
See, I'm the same way, and everybody knows in their heart that I'm mean and unspirited and all that, but it's not really
You think
true.
I'm nasty or mean?
Oh, of course. Why
No,
do you
I'm
think
not.
we're on? Why do you think we asked you on the show?
Just so that compared to me, you would look like an angel.
Listen, that's my secret. That's my secret of when I host. When I host and people have
Yes.
to go through the 10 minutes of silence or whatever, they're grateful for the comedians, and the comedians are grateful to me.
Well, somebody has to set the bar very low. So
Yeah. That's
yeah,
what the MC does. That's
sure.
what you do.
So
Now,
Tom,
we're really lucky.
have you been performing with Uncle Floyd?
Well, it's funny. I was scheduled at Scotty's in December, 2 nights, Friday and Saturday. And Scotty's ended up canceling both nights because of lack of reservations.
Sure.
And it turned out a week later, or shortly thereafter, Floyd came down with COVID.
Oh,
So
no.
I would have been open up to, possibly catching that had the
Sure.
shows gone on. But now he's recuperating and he's back at his radio show and some other stuff.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that he got sick.
Yeah,
But lucky for you that the show was canceled.
yeah.
For sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
How are you, Tom? Are you totally healed from your hospital event?
I'm healed. I just came back from the doctor today. Actually, I had one doctor yesterday, another doctor today. And my leg looks great. I had cellulitis, if you didn't know.
Yes.
Yeah, lower the camera. Let's see that leg.
No. But my legs are normal size for the first time in a long time.
That's wonderful.
And
In the past, I didn't have calves. I had cows.
And what's your blood sugar?
My blood sugar is at the lowest that I've known it to be since I was diagnosed with diabetes. Last night after lunch was 137. I had been testing in the high 2s.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's terrific. There's a test called an A1C
Yeah.
that I've had. I think this is the test that it shows your blood sugar over the course of 3 months.
Right.
And that's very distressing because I have a doctor's appointment scheduled for March.
Uh-huh.
And I haven't been behaving myself as well as I should.
I'll start behaving.
So I better start behaving because my A1C may come out.
I'll give you a hint or a tip. Drink a lot of water.
Yes.
Put cinnamon in everything that you can, including the water. I put cinnamon sticks in my bottle of water in the morning. Well, that'll help with the blood sugar anyway. Stay away from sugar. Stay away from carbs. Bagels are like the worst thing for you if you have diabetes or you're watching your sugar.
Is that right?
Yep.
I wonder why they're so delicious.
I miss them.
I bet you do. Yeah.
How about
I don't
lox?
eat bagels very frequently.
Mhm.
What did you say, lox?
How about lox?
Oh, I
lox and
love
cream
it.
cheese.
Well, I work in the self-storage business, so I see lox every day.
But
Don't encourage him.
oh,
Yeah,
I'm
really.
I
sorry.
have to do this every week. I've been doing
I don't
this
have
every
to
week.
encourage Tom to make Tom into a punster. Tom, you don't need very much encouragement. do
He's
you?
like a punster idiot savant. If you say any kind of word, you can't get by a sentence without him finding a play on.
I know, Tom, you don't really work at it, do you? It just kind of comes out of your mouth.
It's like Tourette's syndrome. I have
Yeah.
no control. It's there.
Yeah.
And like me, Tom has to learn to keep his mouth closed around females.
Yeah, I
Wow.
get myself in trouble.
Oh, do you? Around women?
Oh yeah.
Is this a lifelong thing, or is this more
Well,
recently?
let me put it this way. The last time I've been in a relationship with a woman, Bush was in office.
Okay.
But I'm not talking George W. I'm talking the father. Now wait, there's more. He was in office, but not as president. I'm talking vice president to Reagan. It's been a
Oh,
while.
you're gonna make me cry.
Yeah, well, that's what I do.
Well,
And
with your
that's
new
why.
stealth
And that's why
body, you
tonight.
become very eligible.
That's
Yeah.
why tonight we're going to close out the show with a telethon for Tom Mangelli.
Yes.
You know the
Even though
the GoFundMe initiative on Facebook.
Sure.
I want to start a Go Feed Me. I'm
No.
hungry, damn it.
So Tom, are you selling the products that you are using, or
No, I've been on several diets over the years, and I've been doing a lot of reading online and elsewhere, and I've put together a diet that works for me.
okay?
And-
For some reason, I thought that you were also peddling it, but you're
Well,
not.
I was selling the CBD oil that I'm taking.
I see.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I'm doing it just for me now.
You're a big Doug. You're a big proponent of CBD.
No,
I used it for my father.
Oh, yes.
I used
Yeah.
it for my dad, and it really helped him.
Yes.
It helped him. I could tell when he didn't have it, he'd like get cranky and whatever.
Yes.
But we had tried marijuana with him. My dad had a marijuana license, and so one weekend I wanted to spend the night with Stephanie and go down there, and he was still fine on his own. We'd just gotten the marijuana for him, and he went in. I wasn't allowed in because I wasn't his authorized agent. You're not allowed to go into the marijuana dispensary.
Yes.
So he went in and he talked to probably some 17-year-old and told him about what crippling pain he had. And the guy, instead of listening to what the doctor had written down, probably gave him the strongest weed he could possibly think of. So fast forward a week, and I'd been giving him little tiny hits, and he did like an Irish jig. 95 years old, he's dancing.
Oh my God.
So a week after that, I want to spend the night. So I rolled my dad a joint, and I said, Dad, just smoke a couple puffs and put it down. I get home the next day. I can't tell you all the stories, but he ended up smoking the entire thing. And like at 95 years old, really good weed.
And he was
smoked
by
the entire-
himself.
He never smoked again. It was like an acid trip for him.
Oh, my
you went out on his unicycle to get Doritos.
That's wild. I tried to get my mom to even use CBD, and she wouldn't even think of it.
Really?
Yeah, she's quite difficult. She's not difficult. She's stubborn when it comes to her health, and so she would much rather complain than to
So can I,
Yeah.
a couple little tricks I learned, because I was, living with my dad for years. So if I ever, and my dad was a soldier, so, tough. And your mom comes from that
same
the great
stock.
generation. So my father would, and I'd hear him clearly in pain from whatever, a wide variety of things, all of it. Dad, can I give you a pain pill? No, he would not take a pain pill.
Yeah.
He didn't want to get it. What was his pain pill? Most of the time it was Advil. He
Yes.
did not want to take Advil. He didn't want to get addicted to it. Dad, you're 95. And I'd had to live with it anyway. So, instead of asking him if he wanted his pain pill, I started asking him if he'd like me to give him something to make him feel more comfortable.
Uh-huh. And that's when you gave him, or when you got him the medical marijuana?
That's when I got him that, I'd give him CBD or, near the very end, it was different.
Yes.
He had morphine at that point.
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
No, my mother would not take Advil either. And finally, I got her to take maybe one Advil a day. So for those, 4 hours, she's feeling better, but then her pain comes back, and then trying to get her to take a second Advil is really hard. So
There's some
anyway,
longer
if I'm
things.
half as spunky as my mother is when I'm 92 years
Yeah,
old,
yeah.
I will be very, very lucky.
Yeah. But one of the things I learned with my dad is you kind of have to, at some point, they're not thinking clearly, whatever, it's like my father would not be able to sleep at night rather than take an Advil. And
Yeah.
so it really got to be a medical problem where.
Yeah, I don't see my mother as any different from the way she's ever been. She's always been a very headstrong person.
Yeah,
so
you have to start tricking them. That's all, for their own good.
Well, it's impossible to trick Judy. Judy's got a lot on the ball. She's
I wonder if
untrickable.
I run a camp for caretakers. Tom, you could be one of the instructors.
Sure.
On how to take care of an elderly parent. When they misbehave, put the remote control for the TV in the freezer. That'll teach them.
Joan, you laugh.
You did?
My father had MS,
Oh,
and he was in a scooter. And he used to watch TV 24 hours a day. That was the only thing he did. But he would watch
Yeah.
the MASH channel. There must have been a channel just for MASH, because every time I walked in, he was watching MASH.
on the TV.
But when he pissed me off, before I left the house, I would take the remote control, which is like his lifeline to the outside world, and I would put it in the butter bin in the refrige, which was way high up that he couldn't reach it.
Oh, God. That's elder abuse.
Wait a minute. That was the good part. Tell her the scooter story, Tom. You've told it before on air,
All
but
right.
now it's part of the
He
theme.
used to pull up to the table in his scooter, and he used to stay in the scooter while he ate dinner.
Sure.
Well, he would always leave the scooter on while he's eating. And every day I would say, 3 times a day, I would say, you got to turn off the scooter. You're going to lose the power. And I would turn it off. Well, after a while, my passive aggressiveness poked through. And before I turned it off, I would put the speed setting to the highest speed and then turn it off. So he'd get this urgent need to pee. He'd start to back up the scooter, and he end up the wall on the other side of the room. We had one wall with all skid marks. And he would yell at me, "You dopey bastard, you dopey bastard."
Oh,
That's what he called me my whole life. You dopey bastard.
oh, you got back at him.
Yeah.
You got his. So
Tom, you've got some bookings coming up before we run out of time.
Yes, actually, thanks for reminding me. I just got, I'm going to be at one of the few outdoor venues still going in this weather. It's heated, it's closed, it's enclosed. It's the High Point Lounge in Absecon, New Jersey. Michelle Tomko runs it. It's a booked open mic, and it's a great place to try out new material, which is what I'll be doing. And I'm getting ready for my show on Saturday, which is at Club Flamingo in South Hackensack. Rich
What's the date?
Carucci's.
Because we're airing after Saturday.
Oh, that's true. So why even bother bringing it up? Anyway, it was Saturday, February 13th at Club Flamingo. But a show that will be coming up after this airs is Friday, March 26th at the Loretta Winery in New Egypt, New Jersey. That's a 7 p.m. show. It should be a good show. Cricket comedy. Joan, did you ever do Loretta Winery?
no, I've never done Loretta Winery, but I've done cricket.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. I love cricket.
I've done crickets.
Yeah, yeah. When you're on stage.
I'm not doing indoor shows right now.
No?
No, I'm not doing any indoor work right now. So, I will when I am in a
Listen,
safer position.
Right.
I had pause when I did the Comedy Cove, and I guess take the gig. I took the gig. So,
Yes.
the first night was both shows, Friday and Saturday night. I still remember the names of all the people in the audience. It wasn't that many people.
Yeah. Well, I take care of people who are at more risk than I am. So I just, I try to be safe.
I did
Right.
that with my dad a lot too. And he kept on forgetting, and, but,
Yeah, that's the only thing I feel guilty about, because I see my Uncle Sal most nights during the week, and he's got all kinds of problems. He just started dialysis, his kidney failed.
Oh,
But I'm not going to be spending as much time with him after doing these shows unless I get tested.
and even, it's almost impossible, because if you really want to have scientific rigor with it, you'd have to get tested and then quarantine,
Right.
yeah.
and keep everything between you sanitized.
Right.
So,
Sure.
and this new variant, at least the vaccines seem like they're going to reduce substantially the number of people that will die. The new variant, obviously is more transmissible and evidently a higher mortality rate. So, the only good thing is that we should keep on doing what we should have been doing from last March. But
Oh, well, I
start
couldn't
doing,
agree more.
Yeah.
But there'll come a time that we'll be back like we used to be.
Although,
That's my
the
fervent
only
wish.
I worry about anti-vaxxers effing things up. There are a number of them, and they can
Yes.
maintain and circulate it. And we don't know enough about whether or not people can get reinfected. There's already some evidence that people can be, or can a new anyway. Listen, we started with dead people. We're going to end with the virus. Let's go back to puppies.
This is really fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for
So
being
nice
had.
for being
By the way,
on.
today, oddly enough, today, the day that we're recording, is National Pizza Day.
Oh, are you going to celebrate?
I wish I could, but no.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll send you a graphic of a pizza, Tom.
Thank
or
you.
something. So once again, if you are in the New Jersey, New York area and want a comedy show, please write to Jack at jirwinproductions.com. Tell him Doug and Tom sent you, and that Doug and Tom would love to perform for you. I'm OCD clean. Joan also would love to perform for you. I don't know how clean she is, but I'm OCD clean. Even if she's a slob, I can make up for it with my OCD-ness.
Let me
So,
get
Joan,
vaccinated.
yeah. Joan, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a pleasure. It was good to see you again. I miss you in
You
person.
too. I miss you guys too.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
we'll be together, hopefully in the fall. I think is probably.
Don't say fall.
I'm
Good
done with
point.
that. That's no more.
On that wonderful note.
All right.
Good to
Well,
see you.
until next time.
Okay. Mwah.